The Hash It Out Show is brought to you by Barreto Home Solutions, Bayou Audio and Video, Hot Works on the North Shore, JFK Martial Arts in Mandeville and Covington, Black Hawk Hauling, Lil Dizzy's Cafe, Wags Food and Culture, Moe's Pizza, The Green Law Firm, Personal Injury Attorney, Drums Earwear.
Hands up, hands up. If you winning and you don't give a fuck about a hater, tell them move, 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 move. Cause I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. 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 Hands up, hands up. If you winning and you don't give a fuck about a hater, tell them move, 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 move. Cause I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning.
As we begin the third quarter here, sweep right. It's Michael Ford, number 42. He's still in bounds. Shakes the tackle. Touchdown! Michael Ford! Second down. Jefferson. Oh, boy. Ford. At the 15. At the 5. Touchdown, Louisiana State.
Welcome to the Hash It Out Show. I'm your host, JB the Sports Guy. I'm joined by my two co-hosts, George Peppers and VK Jones. And guys, we got a special guest joining us right now. Later on, we will have Skyler Green join us at 8:15. But right now, we got a special guest. This guy here was a big-time running back at Leesville High School, and then he went on to play. He went on to play college ball at LSU, and also spent some time in the NFL. We have the one and only Michael Ford. Michael Ford, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Doing great. How y'all doing?
Doing
Great.
good, man. First of all, thank you for joining us tonight. Let's get right into it. What was the reason that made you want to play football?
Ooh. Man, when I was a kid, we used to play this game called Throw Up Tackle. And ever since then, just from throwing up, playing that game, man, just the tenacity, the energy, the drive that it takes to get away from everybody was just fun. And ever since then, I just stayed.
Yes, indeed. Was there anyone in your life that you looked up to that motivated you?
Yeah, my uncle, he played running back, and my two older brothers. My middle brother, he played running back, and my older brother played linebacker.
At Leesville, you set many records. Like I said, one of the best running backs to come out of this state in the class of 2009. But what was your most memorable high school game at Leesville?
Tioga for the district championship, rushed for 400 yards and 6 touchdowns.
Ooh, jeez. Does that record still stand today at Leesville?
It does.
It's hard to break that. Oh man, you went on to play at LSU. Your freshman year, you were redshirted. How were you able to deal with being redshirted?
See, when I was coming out, that it was normal to be redshirt. It was normal to sit back and develop and watch guys in front of you. When I was going in, I wasn't really expecting much, but just to go in and learn from older guys and learn a different level of college football. I'm not gonna lie. When I got to LSU, I was still wild to see Charles Scott, Keelan Williams,
Yeah.
Trent. It was amazing seeing all these guys you watch on TV.
Sophomore season. Well, before that, your redshirt freshman year,
Mm-hmm.
you got to start in 2 games against Arkansas and ULM. How was it finally to get on the field and also being able to start a couple games?
Dream come true. Dream come true. Like, picking your college back then was phenomenal to go through that process of doing that and then going in the Tiger Stadium and actually going in front of all the fans and being a hometown guy and seeing your phone go off, people seeing you run the ball, score a touchdown. Man, it was nothing like it.
Sophomore year, after the Oregon win,
Yep.
you are on the cover of Sports Illustrated, man. How was that?
The words can't explain that one. Like, when you write a story, I know my goal was to leave a legacy, and I'm thankful for that legacy because no matter what, no matter how removed I am from the game, that Sports Illustrated is there for life. You can always see that Sports Illustrated and it's there.
It ain't going nowhere, my brother. It ain't
No.
going nowhere. I remember it like yesterday. I'm like, man, look at your boy on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Yeah.
Your sophomore year, man, that was pretty much maybe your best overall season. Played in all 14 games, led the team in rushing with 756 yards rushing. Um, but it all came to a halt in the national championship game, man. Tell us about that night, the feeling after the game, because I know it's a memory, but it's a memory that you don't like.
No, not at all. Because, going into LSU, you already know off the bat, it's championship or bust.
Yeah.
You're not happy with no bowl game. There's no bowl game that can make you happy. It's a championship environment. And, that year we felt robbed because we shouldn't have played Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
We already beat them. They shouldn't have been in the national championship. And, losing that game, it was just like, you just see all your hard work come to just shreds in that one moment. And we put so much work in that year to win the national championship. And we felt that was our year because that was our number one class. All of us became juniors that year.
Yeah.
So that was our time to win it all.
Junior season. I don't want to say it's the season that you didn't expect to have or what, but it was like you were doing more kickoff things. What happened with that during that year?
Man, you just as good as my guess. Running back by committee. I feel like, a lot of people don't know Frank Wilson didn't recruit me. That wasn't my running back coach, really. When
Okay.
I came in, Larry Porter recruited me, and Larry Porter left, and DJ McCarthy left, and then my sophomore year, Coach Frank Wilson came in. I had that good year, and then his guys start getting, the guys he recruited start coming in, and you know how that business go. You're going to be loyal to the guys that you sat down with their mothers and fathers with. You didn't sit down with my mothers and fathers. So, and I'm not saying, that's a knock to anything, but I understand the business side as I look back.
Is that also a reason why you left for the draft early? Maybe.
Yes, that's 100% reason why I left. But, whoever watching this, kids watching this, I shouldn't have left. I should have stayed because it was the wrong reason I left. You know what I mean? It was a bittersweet moment that I left. I should have stayed all my years and develop and, learn more before leaving to make that jump.
VK Jones.
Michael Ford, man, it's good to have you on the show. We definitely appreciate you coming on and everything to talk about your career and everything, especially from high school, college, and what you're doing with your life right now. We definitely appreciate it. Got to ask you this at first, man. You come from a place, and I tell you one thing: I've seen and witnessed Cecil the Diesel Collins
Come on.
at
Yeah.
Leesville,
Yeah.
and probably one of the best running backs I've seen in a long, long time, and probably maybe one of the rare running back battles we ever had between himself and Dwayne Woods in the state championship game.
Come on.
So, with that being said, you come in breaking all type of records. How it was for you to just go handle business, but not just that, come in there and set a new president more than anything else. With you coming in at Leesville and really breaking some records over there.
Uh, Believe it or not, like you know, going into Leesville, you know who Cecil Collins is. You understand that name. You understand the weight of that name and the pressure of that. And believe it or not, they gave me his jersey number without even telling me. I didn't even know he was 32. Yeah, my freshman year, they gave me that number without even knowing. So it was, it was already kind of put on my shoulders because my coming into high school, my freshman year, like they took me and put me straight on varsity. I didn't get to go nowhere else. I went straight to varsity, and they put you on the scout team. So I got the varsity, went to the practice. They put me on scout team. I think they tried to humble me a little bit because they was like, this guy. They say he's ready. He's fast. He can play. Put me on scout team. First play I busted. Coach got mad at the defense. They said, okay, let's see if we can stop him. Second play I busted. Third play, busted. Never went on special teams ever again. They said this kid was ready, and that goes the story.
Amazing, amazing. And you look at it's starting to become running back you a little bit as well. You have your cousin Xavier Ford really killing some things as well. And I'm like, my goodness, I'm like, now you got like three running backs really making it, and he's really putting Leesville back on the map and trying to get them somewhere they have not been in a long, long time.
Yes.
What you can say about him, but also the legacy of Leesville High School.
I'm very thankful for that because of the tradition of carrying on the legacy. That's very important, and I could say, man, he's doing it better than I did it. He's 2,500 plus back to back, sophomore and junior year. So just to be able to show the consistency of that, but also, being able to call him and give him little Jews here and there, because, I take pride in going home and actually training kids in the community and uplifting them and showing them like, man, like, you know, I'm the last person that went, Power Five All American. Like, we need more of that. We need a lot more of that coming out. So I'm thankful that he's putting it back on the map and he's showing his talent down there.
And I know you've given him a lot of advice, especially your experiences in college, but not just that, your experiences with the recruiting. Has that been a huge help to Xavier Ford preparing him for his senior year?
Correct. Yeah. And, I give him the real truth of the recruiting process. You know what I mean? Because, most kids say, oh, I got 40 offers. And, some kids look at that and get discouraged. And I tell them, man, to be honest with you, if a kid say he got 40 offers, he really got 5. All the other offers are just people offering them in the conference and don't want to get in trouble. And they playing the competition game. They don't want that kid. They don't want that kid to go to another school so they can bench him so he don't be a competition to them. So
It
just
seems
sharing the jewels of that, like, man, keep your mind focused and understand it's a business, but also understand you got to go to the place that fits who you are, and that's going to develop you.
and it seems like that a lot of things is important for anybody to be recruited and everything, especially how the recruiting game has changed and everything else. And it seems like now more than anything else, the NIL is a big factor. What are
Yes,
your thoughts on that? But then not just that. Do you think a lot of kids need to look at the bigger picture in are they going to get an opportunity to hit the field more than anything else? And that may be the thing that could get them to sign that scholarship.
correct. The NIL deal, man, I love it. I love it, but I just really hope that kids understand anytime you put money involved, you're talking about you don't have a scholarship now. You're going to be judged off plays. Like, think about it. Who's going to let you sit in a university and I'm going to be paying you to sit and watch? No, man. This is this is a business now more than ever. But I love it. But now kids need to understand, go to the right position, that somebody's really going to help you. And because you can go to a university, they give you 100,000, but if they develop you right, you can turn that 100,000 into $1 million. You can go from $1 million and then lose it and never get back to it. So you know this game is a slippery slope. You really got to find people that's in your corner and that's gonna help you make the best of you. Because I sit back and watch them like, man, like how many people you think gonna blow all that money? And then are they telling the kids about taxes? Are they paying taxes on that money? Because then you graduate and it's like, oh, you got a tax bill $400,000. How you gonna pay that? So it's a lot of going on with this NIL that I'm interested to see how it's gonna play out.
Very much agree. Gotta ask you this about LSU a little bit, and I know you're really saying a lot of things and stuff. Gotta kind of ask you this because I kept up with y'all guys and everything. You played with Jordan Jefferson,
Correct.
and everything, and Jordan did everything he could, helped y'all get to the national championship. Do you think Jordan Jefferson was kind of underutilized as a quarterback at LSU? Reason why I'm saying that, because I really thought, in my opinion, that he wasn't used right, in my opinion, because seeing him at Destrehan, we know when he was at LSU, and I even had to defend him on my sports show before, that
Correct.
the fact of the matter is, no way in the world that's not him.
Correct.
You got to use him for who he is. So, do you think LSU kind of underutilized him a little bit? Because I know he did kind of help LSU win.
You gonna get me in trouble. I'm gonna humbly say this without bragging on myself. The offense that we ran, if it was me and Jordan Jefferson would have had way more success, because my running style fit his game way more than most of the other running backs. With our speed option, with our stretch plays, because Jordan Jefferson in that time was my quarterback that just won the Heisman?
Jaden Daniels.
Jay Daniels.
Jefferson. He was a dual threat quarterback. And they was trying to neutralize him in his power style offense with the type of running backs we had. And I felt like if we would have stayed in a more, like you saying, dual threat spread, let him show both his arms and his legs, because he had a cannon. Like, his arm was it was unreal. But at the same time, he can get out the pocket too. So yeah, I think the play style that they put on him and they demanded from him, it did not allow him to show how good he really was. Because you've seen it with Zach Mittenberger. They wanted him to be like Zach Mittenberger and the Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry. Nothing's wrong with that, but this is the type of quarterback you have. Let's build offense around that strength.
That is a very good response right there, and appreciate your professionalism on that one and everything.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you this last question. I'm gonna let George Peppers take over with the questions. I tell you, I talked to a couple. I asked this question, and I know George getting his frown on, but I don't care. I have asked this to every LSU player that's been coming on this show, and I'm gonna ask you.
Please don't let it be the national champ 2019.
Yep, it's that one.
You already know.
But in a different, it's gonna be a little different type of question.
Okay.
Now, a lot of the people that talked about that same question I asked, a lot of them mentioned that 2011 team.
Yes.
And your 2011 team, and I tell you, do you think that team that you was on was probably one of the greatest LSU teams you played, or the best LSU team you ever seen, in your opinion?
So it's so hard, because when you look at the 03 team, that team was pretty good, doggone good.
Yeah.
And to answer that question, the 2019 national championship team, this is my opinion. they were the new coming of the new style of football. You had two really good receivers and a good quarterback. Do I think they could have beat our 2011 team? No. When you look at the defense that we had, you had two NFL corners to hold two NFL receivers. Their lack was their backfield wasn't loaded. Our D line was loaded. So we knew you was gonna throw the ball. You couldn't run the ball. The whole D line went to the NFL. One of them was first round. The rest of them was second and third round on the D line just alone. That's a tough game to go 4 quarters with, and we coming at you, and we can go man to man defense on you. In our backfield now, you want to take the game. That year 2011, we running down your throat with all 4 running backs we had. So it's gonna be a slugfest, in my opinion. Now, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish. Go ahead.
But to compare it to like 07, 03, it's tough. 03 was loaded.
Absolutely, and I really thought if y'all guys would have won it all in 2011 and the 2019 team, I really thought right then and there it would have been a great even matchup, because you look at that time, if you would have won that championship, you guys would have beat. It would have been a tie between y'all 2019, eight ranked teams. I mean, and it's amazing because it have been possibly the 2 greatest college football teams of all time, because it was you look at a lot of these other teams and all that, you ain't never seen a team that has beaten 8 ranked teams in one season and 10 bowl teams. Like, bruh, that's amazing. And like I said, I think it'd have been a great even match. I think y'all would have had the advantage because of the fact y'all had an awesome running game that year.
Yes, that's why I give it to us too. Our running game and our D line. But I also say this too. I'm a huge LSU fan. If Tua ankle wasn't hurt and they have to play him again, who you think win? The 2019 team.
Yeah.
That's a tough challenge too. If Tua's 100% and y'all got to go play Alabama again, it's a tough one.
It is.
Yes, it is. George Peppers.
Michael Ford, first of all, thank you for making the time to join us. And you're considered a legend in our eyes, and we thank you for making the time to join us here tonight. Quick story before I ask you a question. My first question. I moved to Walls Parish in Bunkie, and your game, the Tioga game, your senior year was talked about. I have, my late wife's family, huge LSU fans, and your freshman year, you really killed it. And then they talked about that game against Tioga. Look, Central Louisiana, there's not a whole lot to do. It's really not, but they talked about you and raved about you, and I'm like, yeah, I saw. I didn't see the game against Tioga, but I watched you at LSU, and I was a big fan of you. My first question: who did you pattern your game after? A lot of young kids pattern their games after certain running backs. Who did you admire the most, and who did you want to be like? Patterning your game.
I think I know the answer.
The hardest one of all, Barry Sanders. The reason I started loving the football, the hardest one. But man, after that, it's a touring cost. You got LT. I'm a big Clinton Portis fan. Oh, man. Aaron Foster, man. I'm a big Aaron Foster fan too. Man, the list goes on and on and on. Adrian Peterson, big Adrian Peterson fan. Yeah, but Barry Sanders started it off for me.
Talk about you mentioned your most memorable game at Leesville, with the Tioga game for the title, the district title. Following Cecil Collins, it was a little bit of a gap, but following him, how much pressure did you feel having to come in and hearing the legacy of what that guy did in high school? How much pressure did you feel having to follow him and try to produce like him?
Me pressure? No pressure. It really. Oh. I think the thing that made it no pressure is because I didn't get to see him play. You know what I mean? It was more of the atmosphere of what he did. Versus, I think it'd have been more pressure if it was more of a gap where I came right behind him and got to witness all this. but just
Right.
understanding the atmosphere of it. Because, like you're saying, when you hear people's stories, you almost be like, that ain't real. So it was almost one of those things like, I heard too many stories. I heard stories like, man, like this dude, he's the only guy that can lace up his cleats and not practice and rush for 300 yards. Like, it's crazy stories about what they said about this guy.
Yeah.
And that's the part
Hmm.
pressure away from me because like you said, I didn't get to watch him live. I only heard about his stories. And Coach Clemens is a coach that was at Leesville when I was there, and he played on that 95 team with Cecil Collins. And I got to see his film because he still had their high school film. And he showed it to me, and I was very like, and it's in the interview. I could find the interview, the article, and I said the difference between me and him is he's bigger and stronger than me, but I'm faster than him on the field. Just pure speed, I'm faster than him. And at that time, I understood what my asset was. He can go. He can do two things. I can set you up with my speed. So I understood that. So I knew that was my avenue to make what I had special.
Okay. Now, your recruiting process, was it always LSU or was it close with somebody else? Did you always have it like, I'm going to Baton Rouge, come hell or high water? Or was there another university that was pushing hard for you and making it real tough?
Oh man, believe it or not, my recruiting process was amazing. There was three schools though that I don't think anybody noticed. There were three schools. Florida State was my first offer ever. So I had Florida State in there. Nick Saban definitely was in there. But
Of course.
my two my two top schools for me was Oklahoma State and Oklahoma. I wanted to meet Barry Sanders and Adrian Peterson. So I was to either one of those schools.
Not a bad choice. I'm saying back in those days, I mean, Bedlam is one of the more underrated rivalries of college football. I don't
Yes.
think there's any question. I mean, you talk about Michigan and Ohio State, LSU, Bama, but Oklahoma State's usually pretty spot on as far as a rivalry goes, and we won't see that much anymore with Oklahoma going to the SEC. But that's another story. Talk about the landscape of college football now than when you played, and more so with the, I guess, if you want to call it that, the super conferences. How do you feel about that as it comes to the competitive aspect of college football? And of course, I want your opinion on the expanded playoff with 12 teams getting in.
The Super Conference. I mean, to me, if they play the NIL deals right, there won't be no Super Conferences because I believe that. I mean, you can get a booster from anywhere to pay a kid to come play. So there's a lot of
Mhm.
kids and there's a lot of boosters, and it should. I feel it should balance out the playing level because you shouldn't be able to just stockpile kids at a school because now you're paying them. Nichols should have at least a $1 million booster. That $1 million should be able to pay for at least 7, 8 good 5-star players. So I think if they do right with the conferences should balance out. And the 12 playoff, that one's tough because I feel like that's a lot of games. First off,
Mhm.
with you know I was in college, man. We didn't do all the stuff. The nutritionists, we had all that. We still kids. Ain't nobody eating healthy and doing all this other stuff they saying. That you,
True.
you know what I mean? I'm still 18, 19.
Yeah.
Well, I still feel like I'm Superman. I'm still gonna do all the things that I want to do. Eat all the candy and junk food. So that's a slippery slope because we're gonna see how you know getting out of the SEC, getting to the SEC championship, then coming out of that and going to play more games. That's gonna be tough.
I can attest to that. I mean, for me, uh, I mean, we've talked about it. The three of us have talked about it before, and we'll probably dig into it later this summer when we get into college previews. About it. For me, I mean, I'm kind of trepidant about it, really, to be honest. The fact that the Pac-12 doesn't exist bothers me. A true
Okay,
West Coast conference, that bothers me that they don't exist.
okay,
But that's neither here nor there because there've been in history, there have been some really, really good teams out of that conference, the USCs, the UCLAs, and whatnot. I want to take you back to 2011, though, to the second game against Alabama. Y'all won the first game 9-6, the field goal game.
Correct.
Great defensive battle, outstanding defensive battle, big stops by both you guys. Really not much traction in that game with either offense.
Mhm.
What I don't know. I want to see. Let me. How can I phrase this question? Because it's going to be centered on Jordan Jefferson, and mostly. And I don't want to run Les Miles under the bus or anything like that. But to me, as an observer, as a fan, as an analyst, I didn't see any real adjust. I saw Nick Saban adjust a lot of his game plan in that second game. I didn't see Les Miles do it. It looked like the same. They ran it back like you did on the road. And to VK's point about underutilizing Jordan Jefferson, it seemed like they were too basic in that you guys were a little too basic coaching wise in that second game. And again, I don't want to run nobody under or nothing like that. It's not the premise I have. It's just being an observer. I just wanted your thoughts. You were a great back for that LSU team.
Right.
But where did you see? Am I really off the rails here, or do you feel like there's some? Do you agree or disagree?
No, I agree. I mean, if you watch the game, the slightest adjustment we made was we came out in the second half with me to run the speed option, and they couldn't keep up with me on the edge. That was our only movement that we made. But Les Miles is an old school coach. His
Yeah,
philosophy, straight up, we're gonna punch you in the mouth, and the next day we want you to feel it. So his adjustments, he's not really gonna make no adjustments because he believe in whatever wall you put up, we're gonna bust it down. We're gonna find a
right.
way to bust it down. We're gonna keep hitting it and busting it down. That's straight up what it is.
Mm, no doubt. And my answer to the argument about who the greatest LSU team, if you put in the 11 team against the 19 team, if you guys had you guys finished it off and won that national championship, I don't
We
know if that LSU team would have been punched like I think your defense would have punched them in the mouth, and I don't know if they would have had an answer, but that perimeter would have been trouble with Jefferson, Chase, Thaddeus Moss, Terrace Marshall. It would have been a challenge for your secondary, but you guys had some dogs on that secondary, big dogs.
yeah.
It would have been a fascinating game. Um, my last question, going for you, as before I turn it back to Jared, what's your greatest memory at LSU? You talked about Leesville. What was your greatest memory at LSU? I mean, you can mention the Oregon game, as a great opener, but to you, what's the most treasured memory for you?
Whew. That's a good one. That is a good one. That is a good one. It had to be the Sports Illustrated, not even the game, is that moment because when I remember my whole thing was do something that's never been done. Like that's what I feel I always wanted my legacy to be. Do something that's never been done. And I don't know nobody from Leesville that's on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Nah, no one but you.
Yeah, so that would be my college moment right there.
Gotcha. JB.
VK, I know you got another question from Michael Ford.
Yes, I do. You had the privilege to play with a very good defensive back, multi-talented, and for him to have the rise and fall, but for him to bounce back for what he's doing going forward, and that's Tyron Matthew.
Correct.
How it was playing with that guy, and not just that. What are your thoughts on him? Redeeming himself and got himself together and staying straight, and for him to have a prolonged NFL career, but not just that, to have his life completely changed for the better.
Man, I tell people all the time, Patrick Peterson might be the greatest athlete I've seen. Hughes is the greatest football player I ever seen. And kids want to be like this guy because he's that kid that's undersized and made it and did everything. But when you get to speak to kids, there's one thing they understand about him is that man perfected his craft. His mindset going into games, like I've never seen nothing like that till I seen this kid. Like everything he did, he called it out and said he was gonna do it. Like there was no back down, there was no intimidation in this kid. Like that everything you see, the honey badger, take that, give me, that's his mentality. So for him to redeem himself, you almost like, I expected that to happen, because when you meet him and you feel his energy and you feel how he is, he feel like his back is against the wall all the time and he got to fight through everything he gets. So I expected to see the outcome how it is, because you know that's him. You feel when you walk in the room, he might be the smallest, but he the biggest in everything else. His biggest mind, biggest heart, biggest attitude, biggest work ethic. Like he's one of those guys that's gonna go get it. So he's a guy I commend. I'm happy to see the end result of what happened to have that career.
Michael Ford, you started coaching, and
Correct.
you also training players, and I know where you coach that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're training players also. So
Correct.
what got you wanting to coach and train players?
Man, I'm gonna get in trouble again. I'm gonna say this in a nice way. Man, it's a lot of high school is a place, is not really for college. And I see a lot of coaches overlook a lot of because they don't know how to develop it. They don't even know how to speak into these kids' lives. If you're not 6'5" or the prototypical size of an LSU looking player, they just look over you. And I found out it was my passion to go in and help kids and coach kids and help them, realize their dream. Because at the end of the day, we're a light to everybody. Whoever it is, we just here to be a light to them and help them get what they want. And man, sitting around doing nothing, and it fired me up. Like I had a passion that I didn't even know I wanted to go out there and coach and help kids. And boom, I've been in it 4 years now.
I told Michael a while back, I said, man, I wish you was still coaching that show. I told him that. He was, sure did, man.
I bumped into Hank. He said he gonna see what he could do.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I bumped into Hank. He said he gonna see what he could do.
I'm gonna bump into him too.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Where he was
Michael,
actually coaching at? Actually, where he was coaching at? Yeah, I didn't know myself.
Yes. So I started off at y'all. Then, Tommy got fired. I went to Holy Cross with him. Salt was over there. Salt got fired.
Hey man, you gotta think for the people that's getting fired, right?
Wow.
Exactly. They got a new coach, Scott Watney.
Yeah.
My dog rubbed me the wrong way, so I'm like, this ain't for me. He got a little ego. So I went to Jesuit for a little stint, and St. Martin actually needed a coach. So I ended up going to St. Martin's with Harlan Berry.
Yeah.
Yep. Right now I'm at Bell Chase, to be exact.
Oh man. Oh. But the thing is this though, I'm glad you're coaching and I'm glad you're in these players' lives, man. They need a positive role model like yourself.
Yeah. And I'm actually really enjoying it too. I'm really enjoying it.
Good deal, man.
Yeah.
Good deal. George Peppers, you got another question for Mike before we let him go?
No, I'm all questioned out, but it was a pleasure having you on tonight, Michael. And continued success and best of luck for you as you go forward. Hopefully, maybe you'll be a head coach soon somewhere.
That sounds nice. We're gonna see. We're gonna see.
Definitely. Michael Ford, man. Thank you for joining
In
us.
God's will.
Yeah. I respect that one. Definitely respect that one.
Michael Ford, thank you for joining us, man. We truly appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Truly appreciate this.
Definitely, man.
Yeah.
Leesville great running back, Michael Ford. Played at LSU, did a little time in the NFL also. One of the best running backs to ever come out of the state. His sophomore year at LSU was his best year. Just fell one game short of winning the national championship. They fell at Alabama. But man, when you heard about Michael Ford in high school, man, he was the legit real deal, VK.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. He was very, very good in himself. He was a good all around back. He definitely had more of that speed than anything else. It was like speed first, comparing him to to Cecil Collins, but it was amazing how he turned things up and really, got Leesville back on the map more than anything else. Before I go any further, I apologize for that interruption because I should have asked you off air if he was in this. I didn't know he was an assistant with Tommy. I didn't know that. I didn't know none of that.
Oh,
I
you're
knew
right. You good?
because
You didn't do nothing wrong.
right because I used to be the interrupter. I don't want to interrupt, but at the same time, I knew he was. I had a feeling he was coaching. I didn't know where. I didn't know he was in the city. So that got me, and
Yeah.
I was like, "Wow, okay, you down here." So
Yeah.
it's interesting, and I ain't gonna lie. Now he's giving back. You just gotta love it, especially him giving back to his hometown. Nice career at LSU, very good career in itself. And I mean, he really loved his teammates and he really opened up on a lot of things tonight. So I'm very amazed and I appreciate him being on. And that's going to be an interesting combination at Bell Chase. Michael Ford and Clifford Harris. Yeah.
Oh, here we
We,
go.
we, we, we,
Here
go,
we
we,
go,
go, we,
Here
go,
JB.
he
we,
go.
go, we
Here
gonna
we
He go with
go.
see.
it. He go with
We
the Bell
gonna
Chase
see.
bias. There he
That's
go.
all I'm gonna say. We gonna see.
Oh
It's a,
I'll
it,
give you
Lord.
it's it,
21.
it's
I'll give you
interesting.
14 in Bell
It's it,
Chase when
We
they
see,
play
see, the,
Shaw.
opened
see,
Pandora's
see,
box with him with this one, boy.
see,
You know
see
he
the guys. See
Exactly.
the guys don't want to. See the guys don't want to hear that because all I know, somebody gonna be losing some stuff that particular week. Because I'm telling you, I'm telling you, somebody gonna be losing stuff that week. If I lose it, oh well. I'm a man of my word. I pay my
And we
bets.
are?
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I just said I'm a man of my word. I hold
Okay.
myself accountable and I admit that I'm wrong. And if I'm
I'm going to
wrong, I'm
create,
wrong. But if I'm
before I
right,
get into,
if I'm right, and if Shaw wins by under 14, somebody gonna be in trouble
I'm not
when we come
mad.
back there.
George,
Somebody
look,
gonna be in trouble.
George Peppers, we got 1 minute left before we can take a
I know,
commercial
and we're
break.
about to get.
Everybody
I
needs
know
to
we're
eat.
about to get our next guest on. I
Go
get
ahead.
it, but for Michael Ford, it was a pleasurable interview, and that's the theme of this show this month, guys. For those of you watching, that's going to be a lot more. There's going to be a lot more where that came from. That we're going to have all these legends on for you, and we got some really good ones coming forward. So stay tuned. And for me, Michael Ford is a great player. Was a great player for LSU. I know Hunter Houston. I see that always. Got to be. In the words of Michael Jackson, got to be starting something, right? But no. At the end of the day, Shaw Bell Chase. We'll talk about that down the road. 10-4,
Yeah,
eh?
please.
I mean, that's not tonight.
No.
If VK wanted to put that interspersed just to give us a little bit of a tease, it's all good though. It's all to the good. But JB, I'll turn it back over to you as we get ready for our
Sir.
next guest, who
Yes,
I'm really
sir.
looking forward to interviewing.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. We're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we return, we will have none other than Skyler Green joining us right here on the Hash It Out Show.
Head coach of the Hahnville Tigers boys basketball team, and you are watching the Hash It Out Show.
Welcome to Bayou AV Security. My name is Rusty Mathern, proud owner and operator. We specialize in providing top-notch audio solutions, advanced security cameras, reliable internet services, and stunning permanent holiday lighting. At Bayou AV Security, we are your one-stop shop for all your needs, whether it's enhancing your home entertainment system, securing your property, ensuring a seamless internet connection, or illuminating your outdoor spaces. We've got you covered. We are locally owned and conveniently located on the West Bank. As a fully licensed business, we take pride in delivering quality service you can trust. You can see our exceptional work showcased in the Parade of Homes. Experience the Bayou difference firsthand. Bayou AV Security, where technology meets reliability. Call us today to experience the Bayou difference.
Michael Clayton in motion. Mock rolls out, looks deep, fires it as he is hit. He's got Skyler Green. Oh, touchdown! LSU!
That is a day that I will never forget because I was there in the student section when that happened. I'm JB the Sports Guy, joined by VK Jones and George Peppers, our next guest. Everybody know this guy. He was a big-time player at LW Higgins, big-time player at LSU, drafted by the Dallas Cowboys, did a little time with the Saints and the Cincinnati Bengals, the one, the only, Skyler Green. What's up, Skyler Green?
What's up, fellas? How you guys doing today?
Doing good, my brother.
Doing good.
Doing well.
Yeah, you're right. Appreciate you guys for having me, man.
Man, we appreciate you for coming on, Skyler. Let's get right into it. What's the reason of why you wanted to play football?
A lot of my family members, man. My oldest brother started it playing football with a bunch of our cousins, and the cousins' brothers, all of those guys started playing football. We used to all be in the yard growing up as kids, man, throw up tackle. I'm the littlest one out there with a whole bunch of mountain guys, big old mountains. Jarvis and Howard and Jason Green and all those boys. And then they went on and went to LSU. So I kind of wanted to stay close to home and went to LSU, man, and followed in my cousin's footsteps, and went down there and made a name for myself in Baton Rouge, and the legend still lives on for the Georgia catch.
Yeah, bro. Because if you happen to search your name, that is the number one picture that pops up. You catching that football in the back of that end zone, brother, man. Like I'm right there in the student section, man, and I'm watching the game, man, and to see that like right in front of me was something else in the fourth quarter, the game winner. That was something. We'll get to that in a little bit. But who in your life was someone that you looked up to?
Athlete or
Athlete, family member, doesn't matter.
Athlete. I always looked up to good running backs.
Okay.
So Terrell Davis, Barry Sanders, Brian Westbrook, Ricky Waters, guys like those guys, Emmitt Smith, good quality with good endurance running backs. I watched all those guys, man. Those guys are part of the reason why I love playing the game football. But most of all, my mom, and I had like a teacher that followed me from middle school all the way through high school. She was like a second mom to me. And like I was telling some of my boys not too long ago that everybody had a lunch break and I didn't even have a lunch break, man. I was kind of like always in the classroom doing some extra studying during my lunch hours. So I never got a chance to go out and have like mingling with all of my peers when I was in school. So I always stuck to the getting the tutoring so I could to better my grades to get a better opportunity to go to college because the ACT score and all of that stuff played a big factor when I was coming out of school, which it still does. But guys, a lot of guys nowadays getting scholarships off of just about a whole bunch of different things now, man. But yeah, my family, man, my mom, my cousins, all of those guys I looked up to, but most of all Barry Sanders and Terrell Davis, is sports guys. Like I said, my high school and middle school teacher and my mom, man. That's the kind of people that kind of molded me into, and also my pastor. He passed away. R.I.P. My pastor. Growing up as a kid down in Avondale, Louisiana. My pastor played a big part on me sticking to football and working and continuing to work hard.
Definitely. You played at L.W. Higgins High School. Wayne Myers was your head coach those years. How much of an influence was he on you?
Coach Myers was a good influence. Coach Myers, he knew how to influence us as a football team to get us to want to play. Made us work hard. He wasn't no pushover coach. He always made sure that we did everything that we needed to do to give ourselves the best chance of winning. A lot of people thought that our team probably should have went to the state championship. Um, what that was my junior year. Yeah, we ended up losing to St. Aug in 2001 in that first round of the playoffs. And I tell people to this day, man, that was a loaded football team, St. Aug.
Yes.
Michael Franklin, Lawrence Fortunate, um, Paul Irons. You got different guys that went to a lot of big schools that year. Big Nat Dorsey went to Georgia Tech. You had tight end Doucette, went to Memphis. You just had a lot of guys. Big Perry Davis that played defensive
Yep.
tackle, went to Southern. It's just a lot of guys that when we were coming up, man, it was a lot of guys that took the game so serious and played with a lot of high emotion and a lot of passion.
What was your most memorable high school game?
I would say I don't know if it was my senior year. I think it was my senior year. We played against East Jeff, and I had 19 carries for 465 yards in the storm and rain and 5 touchdowns. And man, it was a big time game. All I can remember was guys getting on the radio on Q93 that night talking some smack, and I was like, you know what? We gonna see what I'm gonna do tonight against them. I didn't like to talk a lot of trash, but for that game, I can recall me talking a little bit of trash during that game.
My goodness. I mean, did they not watch TV? The news? Skyler Green was on the news every week, man. Come on, man. You gotta be smarter than that. My
Uh,
goodness.
yes, indeed, man. Friday
Oh,
night football was it, man.
yeah, without a doubt. You get to LSU and you are used immediately. No red shirt, no nothing. Derry broke his arm and you got to play even more as a freshman.
Yep.
What was the biggest adjustment you had to make from high school to playing college football your freshman year?
The speed of the game. It was mainly just the speed of the game. I was a fast guy, but it was just those guys are faster too. Those guys are playing at a high level as well. Just like they used to say in the NFL, they getting paid too. But at the end of the day, those guys are on scholarship too. You know what I'm saying? So those guys are just as good as you. Is the reason why they're there. But I mean, it took a lot of hard work for me to get an opportunity to play my freshman year. Being that Coach Saban saw some things in me, and he was like, "We got to use this kid. He's an outstanding football player. There's no reason why he needs to be sitting on a bench." I still remember to this day Coach Saban asking Coach Fisher, "Well, why is Scholars not in?" And I can remember Coach Fisher. He doesn't know any of the plays. He was like, "Well, teach him one, then teach him another one. He's gonna learn them. He needs to be on the football field." So, and I still get cracked on about the Georgia catch as well, man, because that was actually the wrong route I ran. so, so, so a lot of people mess with me about that still, but at the end of the day, I tell them, hey, we won the game, and that kind of took LSU football from where it was to what it is today.
Speaking of the Georgia game, that was one of your biggest highlights of your career, and even the touchdown in the national championship. Talk about both of those for a little bit.
That Georgia catch, man, all I can remember was in the huddle. Uh, we have it was 2 plays. All right, the play is laser which means Matt Mark was rolling out to his left, and we had laser pick. That was the name of the play. It was laser pick. So I heard laser. I didn't hear the pick part. So on the play laser, I run a regular little corner route, and on the pick play, I just run a 4 to 5 yard quick out while Michael Clayton comes and run a quick in route, and we kind of rub shoulders to pick the defender to have make a decision quick, and I heard laser, so I was just thinking I'm going deep on this play, and I'm gonna run like my ass is on fire, and get behind the defense, and hopefully Matt see me and throw this ball, because that was the first thing that went to my mind. I said I just got to beat the defense, and the national championship game, man, that was a big time touchdown for me, playing in my hometown. A lot of friends, a lot of family watching in attendance. It was just a special moment for me, being a Louisiana guy playing in your NFL playing stadium. It was a special moment, man. If I could relive it, I'd do it all over again.
Oh, that's right. Junior year, you was injured, hurt ankle, re-injured the ankle. How were you able to deal with that type of adversity during that season?
If it wasn't for our trainers, Jack, Andy, and Shelly, man, at LSU, I probably wouldn't have made it as far as I did after hurting my ankle. The constant treatment, the constant therapy, and getting my strength back in the rehabilitation phase of it. It was tough, but I think through that moment I learned how to endure through everything, and learn patience, because it made me sit down. I wanted to come back real fast, but every time I make a move on that ankle, it would knock me right back down. And that's what a high ankle sprain is.
Mm-hmm.
The doctor told me you probably would have did better breaking it than just injuring it as a high ankle sprain. And it lingered with me that whole year, man. And then after that junior year, had surgery after that season, and going into my senior year, kind of, healed it up. But that Oregon State game, which is my senior year, we opened up with, no, that was my junior year, Oregon State. And I really re-injured that ankle the first season opener. And then I was that whole season just playing with a nagging ankle injury. But after that season, I had a orthoscopic surgery, and I haven't had any problems with it since then. But I think Dr. Bankson did a real good job, one of the docs from LSU, and still to this day I haven't had a problem with it. So he did a pretty good job on me.
Good deal. After your senior season, you get drafted in the 4th round by the Dallas Cowboys. Tell us what was going through your mind when your name was called.
Man, I finally made it. Finally got an opportunity to go play in the NFL. It's every athlete's dream that plays football, or young kid's dream that plays football, to play in the NFL someday. And when I made it there, it was like a big sigh of relief. It was like, I finally made it. Made a lot of my friends proud, my family proud, my mom, my dad, my brothers, and to this day, I'm still talking about my time in NFL to my younger kids. And I have 2 boys right now. One's playing football at Rummel, and the other one plays baseball for St. Aug. And he plays catcher. And then the other, my son at Rummel, he plays wide receiver, a little bit of kick return and punt return. He's starting to work on that a little bit. But I'm looking forward, and he also runs track. So I'm looking forward to him to step it up a little bit. They're going into their junior year.
Okay.
So I want to see what they can do this year. So
I'm
Got to
coming.
do big things.
I'm coming find you when Shaw play Rumble this year. I'm coming find you, bro.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
coming find. I'm gonna be on the sideline. I'm coming find you, Skyler.
All right, all right.
My last question before I pass it on to VK Jones. Let's say Skyler Green today is playing college football, and the way the game is today, how it's a passing game.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you're a first round draft pick?
Most definitely. Most definitely. I thought I had the opportunity, but going earlier than I did when I came out. But injury, just and I think my performance in the combine wasn't good enough to my standards, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But hey, I still got the opportunity. It was one of the best moments of my life. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Um, I don't regret it for nothing. So, today all I do is tell my kids and younger kids that I talk to when I go speak to kids and, tell them about the time that I was in NFL, my time at LSU, and tell them the most important thing is being a good teammate.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing when you're on a team or organization. You want to be a outstanding teammate and show your teammates that you're there for them and that you working just as hard as them to get to that one goal that you guys are trying to achieve.
VK.
Skylar Green, man, it's good to have you. And this is not the first time we've seen one another before,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's good to have you on. First of all, it's unbelievable. You got a house divided. St. Aug,
And Rumble.
Rommel,
Yes,
Lord
yes.
Jesus.
St. Aug and Rumble. I tried to get my son at St. Aug to play a little football, but I don't think he's gonna play football, man. I've been trying to get him to go play football. So
But
when
I'm like this,
Rumble
the
and St.
base.
Aug play, I can have that shirt on, that half Rumble, half St. Aug shirt,
Hey, I'm like this. You got them in the baseball program. That baseball program has come up, so
Uh-huh.
it's okay. I'm
Uh-huh.
like this. I'm a St. Aug alumni. Welcome to the family. It's all to the good.
Yeah,
But at
you're
the
right.
same time, bro, I still remember that Georgia kid to this day. Me and a friend of mine watched the ball game. We went freaking nuts when you caught that ball. Like, did we just see this cat a year ago? I was like, yes, and he made the win game winner. So
Yes.
it was crazy then. But then I ain't gonna lie, the last couple of years, I mean, at Higgins, how you turn things around, you and Coach Myers, it was amazing in itself. I really felt bad for you against St. Augustine. I really do, because I really thought at the time when the matchups came out, I was like, oh God. I said, we gotta. I was like, why you feeling I feel bad for Higgins. I rather Higgins play somebody else. I don't want them to play St. Aug.
I rather play them later in the playoffs. You know what I mean? I rather
Exactly.
face a team like St. Aug later in the playoffs. I mean, to get a little further in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
because at the time this was before power rankings, and
yeah, and that's
power
the way the
rankings got
chips fell on us, man. It was tough. It was tough.
and something happened to your alma mater years and years later. You know what I'm
Uh-huh.
saying? That kind of got the power rankings going
Yeah,
when your alma mater faced in West Jeff that was undefeated, and you
yeah.
defeated them.
And
And
then
I
they
was
played
like,
Destrehan, Hornville. One of them they
Conville,
played
and pushed
Destrehan,
them to the limit.
Hornville, and then that was the game to either if they'd have won that, they'd have went to the Superdome. I was like, man, that's the furthest Higgins ever been.
Yep.
Yep, that was a great ball game. But
It
my
was.
my first question to you is this: what was your best? Now, I know you named about. I know you named the one game you said the East Jeff game, but I'm gonna ask you this. I'm gonna flip the script on it. Do you think? And I always say to this day, Higgins had to get over a big hump, and that was junior year when you guys defeated John Eric and to win the district championship. Do you think that was one of the biggest? Sorry, George. Do you think that was one of your biggest games that you had to get that you had to play, and was it really important?
Yeah, and see that John Eric team, they were loaded too.
Oh
They
yeah.
had some hell of football players over there. Bruce Petty at quarterback. They had Xavier. I think his name's Xavier. Javier at wide receiver.
Yes.
They had DeWine was over there as well. DeWine Bannister. DeWine Bannister had left
Bannister.
Hickens and went over there. They had I'm trying to think of. They had Thaddeus
That is
Washington.
Washington.
They had Big Sam was a defensive tackle. Big
Yes.
Sam was a defensive tackle. They had Brandon Savage. They had all those guys, man. That was some big time players over there. And winning that district championship that year was big for us because I can remember, and I don't remember his name, but I remember his number. God and rest in peace to him. He was number 36 for John Eric, and they had him spying me the whole game. And that one time when I broke inside on him and broke it up the sideline and scored that touchdown, and I was like, that was the play that really set it off for us when we beat Eric in that district championship. And I can remember getting Reeves sent to the school. They sent Reeves over to the school, put on our locker room door. I can remember the newspaper clippings. The newspaper clippings where the guy that wrote the story of the newspaper, he came to the school. Coach Myers had to sit in the interview with us to make sure we don't trash talk or nothing like that. Make sure we ain't talking crazy. But I predicted the score in that game. I predicted 41-20. I predicted 42-21. The final score was 41-20 in that game. And I was like, man, that was a fun game. That was a real fun game. And a lot of
Absolutely.
still there?
Yes.
Can you hear us, Skyler?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, good. We still here. We can hear you.
A lot of people didn't get the opportunity to see I lost my train of thought.
You talk about the John Eric game, 41-20. Coach Myers said was in the locker room not to talk trash to the reporters.
Abby?
I said, you said Coach Myers was in the locker room making sure you guys wouldn't talk trash to the reporters.
You guys can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us? Can you hear us, Skyler?
You might have to go out and come back in.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if we can get him to log out, log back in.
You guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you
We
hear
can hear
us?
you.
He can't hear us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
he
he might
can't
have
hear
got a
us.
phone call thing.
Can you hear us, Skyler? He still can't hear us. So let me see. Can you hear me, Skyler? So let's hope we get this text message. He can log out, log back in. We get him back in here. So bear with us, ladies and gentlemen. This is live streaming, not live television. Live streaming. Let me see if we get Skyler because he can't hear us, but we can hear him. So we can get him back in a second. Let's see if he can log out, log back in. Seems like he's trying.
I had to mute
Bear
it.
with, bear with us as we get Skyler Green back, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's see what happens now. Get him back. but he's telling us about that John Eric game where they defeated him. And there he is. Skylar, can you hear us? Oh boy. Skylar, can you hear us?
Still nothing.
Can you hear us, Skylar?
Yeah, you
Skylar, can
might
you
have
hear?
to.
Okay. Well, he just logged out. Let's see if he comes back in. There he is. All right, now he's back. You hear us, Skylar? Can you hear us?
Yes, now
He still can't hear us. He can't hear us. Oh man.
he might have logged
Okay.
up. I don't know if he logged all the way out or not.
He have to log out. He logged out. He went out. So we'll try this. We'll try to get him out. Let's see if we can get him back in. Now he can't hear us. I don't know what happened. That's a first. Usually
Might
log out and get him right back in.
have been that
Let me see.
phone
All right,
phone
let's
ringing.
see. Let's see. Can you hear us? He still can't hear us. Still can't hear us. He still can't hear us. All right. Can you hear us now, Skylar? Let's see. His mute is off. His mute is off. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is.
You can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah,
Hear
yeah,
you.
I can hear
I
you.
can't. I
You
can't
can't
hear
hear
you
us. Yeah,
guys.
that's the problem.
I can't
That's
hear you guys.
all right. Let me see if I can get him log out again. The refresh button. Try to. I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna call you right quick. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna call you. Let me see, guys. Let me get this to work right quick. But y'all go ahead and talk about Skylar Green's success, Rob.
Well, I want to apologize to George Peppers because of the fact I had to bring it up because of the fact of the matter is everybody knew with that particular game in itself, you had to think in that series, Eric owned Higgins for a long time. And you just had a feeling that can Skylar Green get over that hump? Like the year before, it was close in the sophomore year, and all of a sudden, Eric pulled away and won that ball game. Junior year, it was just something about that Higgins team. They were just, especially with Skylar, it was like this got to be our time. And what they did, it was an amazing game in itself. And the fourth quarter was huge for Higgins to get that job done. And Skylar Green just took over the game, especially in that fourth quarter. And that got over a big hump. And for them to go on to win the district title, the one big step they got out the way was beat West Jeff. The next thing was you had to beat John Everett. And they did that and winning their first, maybe ever district, maybe first district title since Ike Wilson. So it's a long time
All
for
right, hold on,
LW
VK.
Higgins. Yeah.
Can you hear me, Skylar?
He's out again.
He's coming back. Hold on, he's coming back. Coming back.
But VK bringing it up, that wasn't intentional or nothing like that. I know. I
Hold on,
was at
George.
that Aaron
Hold on.
Higgins game.
Hold on, George.
Okay. All right.
Can you hear me, Skylar? Can you hear me? Oh God. Not yet.
Damn.
Not yet. All right. Hold on one second, guys.
Testing.
Yeah, he still can't hear us. Oh, my goodness.
Can he hear us?
No, he can't.
No,
He
he
can't
can't.
hear us. Hold
Might have
on.
I don't
go
hear
audio.
nothing.
Hold on. Hold on.
Damn.
Hold on.
You guys hear
Okay.
me?
We can hear you.
You can
All
hear
right.
We can,
me. I can't hear you guys.
Can
right.
you hear me, Skylar?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's improvise.
I'm hitting the refresh right now. I'm hitting the refresh.
Okay.
Could he walk all the way out, JB,
He
and
did.
get out of the app?
He did.
Damn.
He logged out.
Gotta love them technical difficulties, y'all. And we apologize for that profusely.
All right. Let's see. Let's see.
But VK, while we wait,
Can you hear Skylar? Still
let's
can't.
see.
All right. So what we're gonna do? I'm gonna call Skylar again. We're gonna go from the phone to work because this is a first because he can't hear nothing. I'm not
Still
muted.
nothing.
He's not muted. Nobody's muted, and we can't get him. All right. So I'm gonna call him. we're gonna go from there. All right, guys.
Okay.
We're gonna
No
make this
problem.
work. All right. All right.
All right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But while Jared's doing that, VK, I was at that game. The game that they hit, I call it the breakthrough of Higgins, LW Higgins. As you mentioned the year before, Aaron won that game, but I remember the takeaway I had was, well, they could be a problem next year. And Skyler, a year older, year wiser, it came to bear. I was on the sideline for that game, and that
All
was
right.
not very. It was not fun to. I mean, as an Aaron alum, it wasn't fun to see that.
All right. Hold on, George.
Um,
We got Skylar.
JB, we got him.
Got him on the phone. So we're
Yes,
talking
sir.
on the phone. Can you hear me on the phone, Skylar?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All
All
right.
right.
All right. Cool. Go ahead, VK.
Yeah. So besides that game in itself and the runs, do you think that was a huge beginning for LW Higgins to really make that turnaround and become a consistent program for years to come?
And I had family that played at Higgins before I got there. Played quarterback, Cedric Schmidt, and he was the first player in a long time that took Higgins to the playoffs. So, and then I came behind him. It was like since 1991 was the last time they had been to the playoffs, and my cousin was the quarterback. So when I got there and started playing football and realized that Higgins was a good football program and they were used to winning, but it was a long time that the program had any kind of winning going on. So when the crew that came from Henry Ford, where I went to junior high school, and we went to Higgins, we had won a district championship at Henry Ford. And when Coach Myers was recruiting us, he told us if we all came to Higgins, there was a good chance that we would win district, and it would be the first time in a long time. And a lot of guys bought into the fact that when we got to Higgins, we were gonna win, and all it took was for us to get on the same page and understand what was in front of us, and we all made the best of every opportunity we got a chance to play. And I love my brothers for that, all the boys that I played ball with, from playground ball to high school to college, all to the professional leagues, the guys that I made friends with, because it's no sport like football, man. It takes 11 guys on the field. It's the only sport that 11 guys is on the field trying to do their job in order for everybody to have success. And it's the most barbaric sport, and it's the funnest sport in the world. But when I was at Higgins, man, it was just the timing and everything. When I was in high school, man, it was outstanding. As far as the staff that was there, because my offensive coordinator and Coach Mark Schroeder, who is very close friends with Coach Ed Ogeron, they were roommates in college at Northwestern. He actually had Coach Ogeron come to the school when Coach Ogeron was just a defensive line coach at the University of Southern Cal. And that's when I kind of knew things were going in a good direction for us over at Higgins, being that a big time school like USC, we got a coach there, and then Coach Saban came through, and then so on and so forth. Coach Tupperville came through from Auburn. We just started having big time coaches come through the school and checking out the program, and then that's when I knew we were heading in the right direction.
You played with some very, very good athletes that was beside you and everything else, and really got things going. I know one of your I believe one of your teammates does the Fan View podcast and everything else.
Yeah, Henry Singleton. Yeah,
Henry Singleton. So you know what I'm saying. Him and Fred, I know all y'all ran things together at Higgins, man. I know they were saying it was a time, and all him keep talking about is like, man, we wish we would win against y'all and say no and everything. It's like, but I tell you, man, Hen is a good dude. And I know there was some great times over at Higgins. I know it was some very great times.
Yeah,
Got it.
we did had good times at Higgins, man. And like I said, it was a long time before Higgins had seen winning like we did since 1991. And it took a good 11 years, 12 years before Higgins actually got back on to the winning side of things. And then Clifford came right behind us and kind of kept things going. And we have a good tradition over there at LW Higgins. And I think now that the program that we have now over at Higgins, I think is going to get better. I'm not sure about how the zoning is now, but I think as far as the zoning, once they get everything under control, or if they changed it, I think Higgins is going to probably get back in the swing of things, and getting the players that they need over there to help the program build and be better from where they are.
I think Emmanuel Powell is going to be very, very, very interesting being the head coach at LW Higgins, a state champion coach. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens over at Higgins. A couple of a former defensive coordinator and Clifford Harris. We talking about Stephen Myers and Clifford Harris, who's at Bell Chase, maintaining, keeping things going over there. What you think about Coach Myers and also Clifford over at Bell Chase?
Coach Steve was always a great defensive mind coach. When he was at Higgins with us, he was our defensive coordinator. He was part of the reason why that I was so good as well, because he used to send the best defensive players at me all the time. And it was sometimes it was like, I want y'all to hit him just to let him know that he's not invisible and that he can't just run all over the football field. I want y'all to hit his ass, and so it was he kind of played a big part in me becoming the player I became in high school. And him and Clifford over at Bell Chase, I think they're gonna do good things. And I was listening into Michael Ford too as well. He's over there as well. I'm hearing right now. I think Coach Myers is gonna have a good chance of building a great program over there, and he got some good guys on his staff that know what it takes to win. Even he knows what it takes to win. But just with those two guys on this program, Bell Chase will be just that much better, and they'll be in the runnings again to go back to the Superdome, to the Dome.
I think somebody on the panel didn't want to hear that, but it is what it is. But
I really do think so, because I really believe in Coach Steve, man. Coach Steve's a great coach, great person all around, and I know he's from that area, and I know he's gonna get those guys to buy in, and he probably juicing them up to get ready to run through a brick wall whenever they get ready to play, because he probably got some stories he tells them. I'm telling you, he gets guys fired up.
The post game speech he had after they beat Parkway in the playoffs last season to go play Destrehan, man, I was like, that would get me amped up to play for him. So yeah, what you saying is true.
And that's the way he always been. I think that's what's going to give Bell Chase the edge. And with two guys like Michael and Clifford over there, it's going to be something special for Bell Chase High School.
Now, at LSU, I mean, you had a very, very good career and everything else. You was part of the first national championship team since 1954, and it was amazing in itself. And I'm not going to ask you the question like I asked these other experts. I'm going to give you a break because you was part of that team. But my question to you is this: how do you felt being that LSU team that is taking things to the next level for the LSU program? Because the turnaround, and some people don't understand, because some people keep on talking about, well, Nick Saban this, Nick Saban that. Jared Denardo was the one that got LSU back on the map, and Saban took it to the next level. And people kind of don't understand that because the thing is, remember, LSU was in football hell long time ago until Jared Denardo came there and turned it
And
around.
and,
But all of
and
a
I'm
sudden,
gonna back you up on that because I really, when I started really focusing on LSU football was when my cousins got there. But they caught Coach Donardo his last year. They had him for, I think they had him for 3 years, but they got Coach Saban for 1 year. And that last year they had Coach Donardo, or the last 2 years they had Coach Donardo. They had Kevin Falk there. They had Rondell Mealy. They had Cecil Collins. They had they had Trell Falk, Brady James.
Rondell Mealy.
You had who else was it? Who else was it? Josh Reed and those guys. And you had those guys there, and that's when the program really started changing. But like you say, when Coach Saban got there, he just put a stamp on it, and we kind of just took off from there. But Herb Tyler, those guys, Kevin Falk, Eddie Kennison, those types of guys, Eric Martin. I'm naming older guys. Guys that I remember that went through LSU and kind of put a stamp on their careers at LSU, and those were guys when I got to LSU, I started looking up to, like, when I saw those guys' name in the ring of the guys that been through here. It kind of motivated me to kind of want to be a superstar athlete at LSU. So whenever I leave here, people gonna remember Skyler came through. And that's the legacy I always wanted to leave, and that's the legacy I'm trying to tell my kids. You always, whenever you leave somewhere, you want to put a stamp on wherever you've been and leave your footprint, because you want people to remember what you did for them, and you want people to remember the type of person you were. So if that could, let you know about just a little bit about me as far as how I was as a team player and how I am, my passion for the game was.
Very much agreed. Last question, I'm gonna give it to George Peppers. How now that you're giving things back to the game, because it seems like you're working a lot with Marlon Favorite, you're working a lot around the community and everything else. You're getting into coaching a little bit. Tell us how you're giving back to the game and what does it mean to you to try to give back to these kids, especially the game that you love.
It means a lot, man, because you never know. I mean, we could have 100 guys at a football camp, and maybe 2 guys may be the guys. At the end of the day, it's all about motivating and keeping these kids motivated to do positive things in the community, in their lives, and let them know the road is never going to be easy, because if it was easy, everybody would get in line and be doing it. But the tougher things are, the greater it is for you when you accomplish the success in the goal you're trying to reach. It just speaks for itself. And I try to instill that in a lot of kids, this generation that's coming up nowadays, because and I said this on the previous podcast that I was on. These kids nowadays, man, they think life is like PlayStation, like it's Call of Duty. You can kill somebody, and then you can just come back to life and think you could keep on playing. But life is not like that. So I try to let guys know that, the more positive things you can do to help a kid and to influence his life in a positive way, then you've done your duty here on this earth, and in your service to humanity, and your service to your community.
George Peppers.
Skyler Green, first off, thank you for taking the time for joining us. And it's a pleasure to have you amongst the many legends that we're going to have this month. And we thank you for taking the time to joining us. And let me start off by recalling that game, that Aaron and Higgins game, that I was there. I'm an Aaron alum. I got to tell you, that's why I think that's why VK. I think that's why VK brought it up because he's secretly was taking a swing. I'm just playing with him. And anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
I was there. What I was going to say was that the year before when Aaron beat Higgins, I was at that one too, and I remember distinctly telling a friend of mine that went with me to the game. I was like, there's gonna be a problem next year, and my gut told me that, and I figured you guys were gonna beat us. I didn't think you would beat us 41-20. But what
Yeah.
was it about that era team that you thought you could exploit in that particular game? Was it just pent up frustration, or was it just matchups that you thought, hey, wait a minute, we could really do some things here?
Well, whenever they sent the reefs over and placed on our locker room door, and
Oh yeah, I remember.
it was fun in games, but then it meant a lot because we were the two West Bank schools. We were like the two big schools that were, the 8'5", 8 guys. John Aaron and Higgins. It was West Jeff, but West Jeff wasn't as good then.
No.
And the East Jeff and those Grace Kings and those schools like that, Riverdale, they wasn't playing at the level that Higgins and John Eric was playing at that time. And it was just so many athletes all over the football field out there. Those 2 years, my sophomore and my junior year, as well as my senior year for that John Eric game, because they still had a lot of guys that still went on ahead and went on to college and got a chance to play in college football. But yeah, John Eric, Higgins was the schools on the West Bank at the time when I was in high school, and it was a big time rivalry. So whenever we got a chance to play John Eric, and when we see those guys across the field from us, it's like, this ain't just a football game. This is about to be a hell of a football game.
It's war, huh?
So that was the good times, man. So it was a big time thing on the West Bank, and that was my first time playing in front of like 6,000 fans in high school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The stands was packed, and I'm talking about everybody on the West Bank probably was in Hart-Smith Stadium.
It was a great atmosphere, that is for sure. But let's move ahead to when you got recruited. And I've asked this of the other legends. During your recruiting process, was it always LSU, or did you have any other schools that really went after you real hard and made you think, wait a minute, well, let me rethink this? Or was it always LSU?
It was other schools at first. Growing up, I could tell you it was. I never thought I would get an opportunity to even go to this school or even be recruited by the school, but I started getting letters from them and everything. That's when I really started saying to myself, okay, I probably got an opportunity to go to a real good school. Ohio State was the school that I wanted to go to growing up when I was younger. Watching David Boston, Eddie George, Joe Jermaine at quarterback, those guys back in the day. Mike, I think his last name was Wally,
Stonebreaker,
running back at Ohio State. Thundercat, one of our own, from right there, John Curtis, that went up to Ohio State.
Oh man, I know who you're talking about, and I can't think of his name.
I can't think of Jonathan Wells.
Jonathan Wells, yeah.
Jonathan
That's
Wells.
him.
I watched those guys, man, and just it was Ohio State at first. Then I kind of weaned away from Ohio State. Then I started watching Eric Crouch at Nebraska, and I was like, because I played quarterback, I said I'm a good option quarterback. I watched what Eric Crouch was doing. I said, man, he won the Heisman. I know if I could go behind him and play at Nebraska, I could probably have an opportunity to win the Heisman Trophy. Being that he had just won it, and if a guy like me run the option the way I was running the option, go there and pick up where he left off, there was a good chance that I probably could win the Heisman. So it was a lot of schools. I could have went to USC when Coach Ogeron came and talked to me. Tennessee, Coach Fuller. It was a whole slew of coaches. that came down and tried to get me. But I always tell this story about Coach Saban. I ended up taking 4 visits, and I was getting ready to go on my last visit. And no, I took 3 visits, and I was getting ready to go on my last 2. The last 2 visits I was getting ready to go on, one was USC, the other one was Miami. And Coach Saban must have found out, and he called my phone, and he broke the story down to me about this the analogy he gave. He said, "You got a girlfriend, right?" He said, "When you committed to somebody, you don't step out on them." so he was telling me about the story of commitment. He was telling me the story of commitment, and don't cheat on them. That's a sign of cheating. So I ended up not taking my last 2 visits because of Coach Saban got to me before I ended up taking them and telling me the story about the commitment issue, because I had committed to LSU my junior year, and he didn't want me going and take any other visits because he knew what those coaches was trying to do, and their motive was to try to get me to turn my decision to their school and take me away from LSU. But that were good times, man. I enjoyed that process of meeting all the great coaches that I got an opportunity to meet. Some of these kids won't understand the magnitude of the coaches that actually knocked on my front door at my house. And I look at some of these coaches today, and I'm like, man, that's crazy. And just looking back, I had Coach Saban sitting in my living room. I had Coach Fuller sitting in my living room. Coach Ogeron sat in the living room. You know what I mean? It's these big time coaches, and they coached at all these big programs, and they're sitting right here in your living room. So for these kids out here today, if any of these kids are listening to this, you never know the type of athlete that you're gonna be. But what I can say is finding the right place, the right coaching staff, and being in the right system can make you the most electrifying player and the most outstanding player people have ever seen. But you got to go there with the mindset of winning on your mind and accomplishing every goal that you have in front of you, and kicking down doors each step of the way, and accomplishing those goals. Because all you're doing is putting yourself up on a high level and getting people to remember the type of person, type of player you were in your career.
Next question. Let's flash ahead to your time at LSU, the 2003 team specifically. Was that Georgia game the game that the year y'all won the national title? Was that Georgia game in your mind the turning point, and was that the game that you felt like, wait a minute, we could really do something special here? Or was there another game on the schedule that you have that feeling about?
Most definitely. And even when we, not just that Georgia game, even when we played Florida, that was the only game we lost that year.
Right.
And even the atmosphere in that Florida game was even bigger than the Georgia game. That's what a lot of people don't know. I remember putting tape over my ear holes on my helmet for that Florida game because it was so loud. My helmet was vibrating on my head. So in order for me to kind of lock in and concentrate, I had to kind of tape over my ears so I could kind of hone in and focus more because it was so loud in the stadium. But that Georgia game was the game that I said put a stamp on that year for us to go to the national championship. When we played David Green, it was David Green, DJ Shockley. Lumpkin was at running back.
Yeah.
They had some real good athletes over there, and they were giving us a fight. And but I tell you what, when we went in that locker room, and it was Coach Muschamp actually talked to the whole team. Coach Saban talked to us as well, but Coach Muschamp is the one that usually gets us really fired up. And when he gave his spiel at halftime, it was like we came out of a totally different football team with the mindset of we know for a fact we're not losing this game. And that was everybody's attitude, and that's the way it showed out there on the football field at the end of the game.
Going ahead to the selection process for the national championship game, a lot of controversy involved. Not with you guys, because you guys earned your spot, winning the SEC championship and whatnot.
Yeah.
But the big kick was about who was number two, Oklahoma or USC. And Oklahoma had just got blasted by Kansas State in the Big 12 championship that year. They got destroyed that year. USC won their game. Were you at that moment? Were you guys surprised that it was Oklahoma coming to New Orleans and not USC?
Most definitely, because even when we went to the White House after that game,
Mm-hmm.
we split it, so both of us got an opportunity to go to the White House, USC and LSU.
Right.
And all I can remember was us just on the steps of the back of the White House on the lawn, the back lawn of the White House, and on the front lawn of the White House, and taking pictures with USC. And I can remember one of our guys saying, "If we would have played them, we'd have killed them too." I said, "God, Ali," I said, right on, because at the end of the day, we were the team that played for the national championship, and I know I understand this all do with the power rankings and the rankings and all of those little things that go into it. But we played in the national championship game, and for them to say we split the national championship, I much rather would have played USC for that not even to happen that way.
You know, I remember when that selection happened. I thought to myself, I thought this was the eye test that Oklahoma had failed. And in my mind, it should have been USC. I believe, and I'm not an LSU fan, I do root for them, but I believe y'all would have beat USC. I believe LSU would have beat USC in the Superdome on that night. SC has a wide open offense, but they had never seen a defense that could punish them and punch them in the
They've
mouth.
never
And
seen a defense that way. And not to cut you off, that D
you
line
good?
was ridiculous. That
Yeah,
defensive line, Chad Lavallee, Marquise Hill, Melvin Oliver, Claude Roden,
ridiculous talent.
Marcus Spears, Marcus.
Yeah,
All those guys, man. Those guys were like the best. They were. It's coming from a guy that went to LSU. They were like the number one player in their spots across the D line. You know what I'm saying? They were like the best player in college football across the D line at LSU that year. You know what I mean? We had the top three defensive line in the country that year.
The following summer, I went to Vegas with friends of mine, and ran into some USC fans, and I wore an LSU shirt just out of season, but I wore an LSU shirt, and they came up to me and said, "We'd have beat the brakes off of you." I said, "Really?" I said, "No, you wouldn't have." They harassed Jason White. Yeah, LSU would have smoked them that night, and they were getting points, and they were getting points against Oklahoma that night. I remember the spread being a touchdown, but regardless of that. Um, what was your greatest when you let me go backtrack to you recruiting again. When Nick Saban recruited you, did he recruit you with the guise of having a chance to play quarterback? I know Matt Mock was on that team and everything else, but did he recruit you with the guise of playing quarterback and having an opportunity to play quarterback, or was it always going to be where you were?
No, I actually went there as an athlete, but I was a running back. I went there as a running back, and I tell people this story as well about Coach Saban. I actually went in the meeting room. I walk in the meeting room, in the running backs meeting room, and here I walk into, you got LeBrandon Tofield, you got Dominique Davis, you have Joseph Adai, you have Justin Vincent. I mean, minus Justin hadn't got there yet. You had, but Justin is an 02 guy, but he came in as a gray shirt, so he came later into that season.
Right.
But you had Joseph Adai, you had Sharon Carey, you had Chris Vincent. He was a guy that transferred out of here and went up to Oregon. It was just a loaded room at the time, and I was like, man, I went to Coach Saban after a practice one day, and I still forget a guy, Dominique Owens from out of Houston, Texas. Coach Saban ended up kicking him out of LSU, but he was like Barry Sanders, man. When he was out there, he was like Barry Sanders. I'm talking about he would have been a serious football player. But walking in that room and seeing those guys in that room, I was like, man, I don't stand a chance here. I knew I was a good football player, but I'm like, man, these guys are already established. I don't think I'm gonna ever get an opportunity. I went to Coach Saban after a practice, and I told Coach Saban the same thing I'm just telling you guys. I don't see me playing here, Coach. It's too many guys that I'm behind. They're all studs, you know. I just don't see me playing. And he told me, he said, well, go down to the wide receiver coach and talk to Coach Hickson and see what Coach Hickson says. See if you can join the wide receiver group. So I walked down to the wide receiver meeting room, talked to Coach Hickson. And in that room, it was Michael Clayton, Benny Brazil, Reggie Williams, Jarrell Myers, and that was it at the time. And Devery Henderson, because Devery had left the running backs room and went to the receiver room as well. So we had a whole bunch of guys there at the time to where I just didn't think I was going to ever get the opportunity to play. But I went and switched to wide receiver, and then later on, Coach Fisher came up with the Wildcat. And I tell people that I was probably one of the first guys to actually run the Wildcat in college football. When Coach Fisher came and put that offense on college level. And that was my first opportunity of getting the opportunity to play at quarterback, take the direct snap, do a little couple of fakes back there, or act like I'm about to do a quarterback draw, fake the pass, take off running. But Coach Saban saw the type of player I was, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity that I had my years at LSU.
I think Nick Saban can sell you a junk car and and anybody would buy it. That's how good of a recruiter he was.
At that time, he definitely was.
even now, well, now he's retired. But my last question before I ask it, I'm going to bring this up because you mentioned this earlier in one of my earlier questions. You hit the proverbial rivalry trifecta for me tonight. You went to Higgins, that's a rival of Eric. You said you were thinking about Ohio State, rival of Michigan. I'm a Wolverines fan. Then you get drafted by the Dallas Cowboys. I'm a Giants fan. I'm like, damn, okay, what's up? It's all in fun, though. But, Skylar, my last question to you before I turn it over to JB. Do you still keep in contact with your teammates from LSU and Higgins?
Most definitely. I still talk to a lot of guys like Terrell McGill, Dwayne Bowe, Jamarcus Russell. I still talk to those guys. I keep in touch with them through social media. Ali Broussard. I talk to a whole bunch of those guys still to this day. And we just not too long ago had a 20-year reunion about 2 years ago for the 03 National Championship team. And all the guys wasn't there, but a lot of guys did show up, and we had an awesome time together, man. I told them we got to do this. It seemed like we can't wait every 10 to 20 years to do something like this. We got to keep on doing it maybe every 5 years or so, so we can come back and enjoy your brothers, man, because time flies so fast, and a lot of our teammates are gone, like the Marcus Marquise Hill,
Yeah.
the David uh, Jason David. I mean, not Jason David. David. I can't think of Dave's last name. Dave. Dave. You have Brandon Washington passed away. A lot of guys that I played with at LSU have passed away, and I just would like to see my teammates more, because just reminisce a little bit more, because those were good times, and it's still something that your kids and your family could be proud of when we go back to the school, and people looking at you like, man, that's Skyler Green,
Mm-hmm.
and it just feels good when you ain't been around that so long, when you get opportunity to be around your old teammates, and then the fans are reminding you of the type of player you were.
Man, it's funny you mentioned Terrell McGill, because he stayed next to me in West Campus Apartments, and I promise you, it never failed. Like every week, he knock on the door. I answer the door. Yo, JB, you got a screwdriver I can borrow? JB, you got a pair of scissors I can borrow? Every week, man. Like, bro, man. Scott, I got one more question to ask you, man. We're gonna let you go. And this thought came in my mind earlier today. I remember my brother played park ball football. He played for West Wego. And I remember the coaches handing out jerseys. And he gave my brother a jersey. It was the number 10. He said, you got the number 10. This is legendary. Remember that. And I always wondered if you played for West Wego.
No, I didn't play for West Wego. I played for Bridge City Playground.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started playing football, I played at Bridge City Playground, and then we moved from Bridge City to Kennedy Heights. I played at Kennedy Heights Playground.
Okay.
Yeah, I played for the Saints, and I didn't get a chance to play with the Raiders or the Vikings because I ended up going to junior high and playing for the school.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I always thought that was you, man. I never asked nobody, but I just assumed it was Scott. I always assumed. Everybody from all those West Wego teams had the number 10, and I just thought that was you. Well, my brother, Skyler Green, man, we truly appreciate you joining us, man. We apologize for the technical difficulty that happened, but we thank you for definitely, man. We appreciate you, man. I know I got a lot more questions I can ask you, but we get to that to another day. But thank you, my brother.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you guys for having me. And, bring me back, man. I guarantee you we can run it some more.
Definitely, bro. You got that.
All right.
All right.
All right, you too, Scott. Skyler Green, ladies and gentlemen, the great Skyler Green, man. And that was a great interview. We apologize for the technical difficulty that we did have in the middle of the interview, but I will improvise some type of way, and we're going to finish that interview with Skyler Green, man, because this was just too good to be true. Oh, man. He talks about the team first, and I credit him so much for that, because if y'all remember, there was time people were just saying the Skyler Green Hurricanes. But he puts his team first, man. He was a great guy at LSU. I would see him on campus, and he's still a great guy to this day, but one of the most electrifying players you've ever seen, not just on the West Bank of Jefferson Parish, in this state, George Peppers.
I don't think there's any question. And, a lot of us got to see it up close and personal, watching him play. You couldn't help but marvel at the athleticism and really the IQ level of how he played. He was a very smart quarterback, very understood his role and understood what he could do and how he could read and improv. We talk about improvisation. That was to me one of his biggest strengths. He could see a play break down and really just make something out of nothing. And then if there was gaps, you were in trouble because once he hit him, that jet speed started to go. and that was a wrap.
He
Done.
wasn't catching them.
You know. No, I mean you could all you saw was the smoke off his cleats, and that's all you would have seen then, and the grass divots that he might have kicked up when West Jeff was grass back in the day.
Yeah.
Back in the day when it was kicking up divots and all that stuff. But watching Skylar Green, and then again being up close to watching him maul John Ehret, it was like doggone passing of the torch or just temporary thing. But seems like it's temporary. Higgins has fallen into the mediocrity level. They're trying to get back out. But for Skylar, he's a classy interview, outstanding young man, and that's been the theme of the 3 interviews we've had these last 2 nights. VK, we've interviewed these 3 guys. Last night we had Ryan Paraloo, tonight Michael Ford and Skylar Green, and we have a lot more to offer you. But that's the gist of these interviews, is to tap into the mind of these legends and tap into what made them what they were then and what they're doing now. And just it's been really, really good, VK. But talking about Skylar, and look, you're an AUG guy, and you had to bring that up about you and him. Um, just what were your thoughts of Skylar as a player?
Skylar was unbelievable as a player in itself. I mean, seeing him sophomore year at Higgins,
Mm-hmm.
I just knew right then and there. I said, Higgins is improving. Higgins is really improving, and he got a player. And somebody was telling me,
Yep.
Higgins got somebody, bro. And I'm looking, and I remember that Eric game particularly, and it was really close. And Eric had to put it away in the fourth quarter. And I was like, whew, once he gets some experience, I'm like, watch what's gonna happen to Higgins. And then the next year, Higgins broke out. Higgins broke out, and it was amazing the last 2 years of his career. I felt the only thing I felt bad for him, he just couldn't get over that hump in the playoffs. He couldn't in both times, first round losses,
St.
losing
Augustine, St.
against
Augustine
St.
Catholic.
Augustine Catholic. And then the Catholic game, I thought they would have a great chance. They're hosting against Catholic.
Yep.
And it was an interesting first half, and then all of a sudden Catholic made all
They
the
wore him
all the
down.
adjustments, and then all of a sudden they just blew them out in the second half.
Yep.
So it was just, but I just the only thing I felt bad, but everything else he carried that LW Higgins team, and that was a beginning of a huge over 10-year run for
Mm-hmm.
Higgins. I mean, it was amazing in itself. We thought that JP district was ran by West Jeff and Eric. Sometimes you might see an East Jeff in there, and there were times Bonnable had some good programs in the 90s under Mike Villamaret.
Mm-hmm.
Really good programs. So at that time, and it was the super district even back then with Covington and Mandeville, that was a hellified district back in the day.
It was.
But then, Higgins over the years always had some interesting athletes. Coaching was kind of up and down. All of a sudden, Wayne Myers came in, and Wayne Myers wanted to do something different. What was amazing is the fact when he got Skylar and got all them players from Henry Ford, he just knew a turnaround was coming, and that turnaround came sooner than it did. And for Coach Myers to maintain that program, it was amazing in itself for Higgins to make a huge run for over 10 years. But Skylar was an amazing player. And I loved it how he made the adjustment from the high school level to college. And for him, and it was a blessing for him to make the NFL and having a not bad career at all. And it's good that he's giving back to the game, and wishing him the best going
Yeah.
forward, especially for his kids. And I
No
tell you
doubt.
one thing, whoo, I know he working more hard in a little bit because that tuition, Jesus, that is a lot.
All right. So we'll answer this question. Anthony Branson, how do you think Hornville would do with a new coach, a Hornville alumni, class of 2002? Oh man, I know a lot of people in your class, buddy. I know a lot of people from that Hornville class of 2002, man. I went to a few homecomings with somebody in your class. Also, my senior prom was somebody from that class. Oh man, I know a lot of people, my family out there. But Anthony Branson, let me tell you this: I went to the spring game against Jesuit, and when I walked into inside the stadium, the atmosphere, the environment felt different. It felt like how it was years ago when Harvard was winning. That's just what I felt. And the enthusiasm, the energy they play with is something I hadn't seen in years. So I think Coach Boyne has it going on the right track. I think he does by getting Coach Malta as a defensive coordinator who has proven himself at Shaw, West Jeff, Destrahan, and even the defense he had at
Slidell.
Slidell. You know,
Hmm.
a 14-7 ball game in the fourth quarter with Westgate. You know, so I think that was good also. Um, I think this is going to be good, and I think Hornville will be back in the playoffs this season. I think so, and I'm not saying they'll win their first round game because I don't know, but I think for Hornville to get back into the playoffs is a good thing. Um, I'm just gonna say, don't expect Hornville to beat Destrehan this year. Don't expect it. Relax. Let's see what happens next year if they're more competitive. But you never know what can happen on any given Friday night. But I think Coach Boyne, right now, from what I saw in the spring game and even 7-on-7, I think he has it going in the right direction. He's in the neighborhoods, he's in the community, he's talking to people, try to get people to play football at Hornville, come to Hornville. I think it's a step in the right direction of where Hornville needs to go. If you guys want to answer, also go right ahead.
I, I'm gonna say this. I think it will be a lot of improvement over Coach Boyne. I think Destrehan would win that game, but it's gonna be closer than the experts think. Don't be surprised. That game could come down the wire. Understand this. Greg Boyne was at Destrehan. Remember, it's an advantage when you've been to a program before and you know what they do. So it's going to be interesting what's going to happen. I think Destrehan will probably win the battle, but it for the first time in a long time, you could have a true Hanville Destrehan ball game this year that could come down to the wire. So if that thing comes down to the wire and Destrehan winds up winning it, expect this to be expect the battle of St. Charles Parish being back.
I want the fans back at home in Destrehan. I want it to where both sides are packed and people are standing around the gate outside the track. That's where it has to get back to. That's when you will know for sure that the Hornville Destrehan rivalry is almost back to being a rivalry. Because right now it's not. It's lopsided. It's one sided. Destrehan. But if Hornville can get a win within the next couple years, watch out. Go ahead, George.
Well, I don't think they beat Estrahan this year.
Right.
I think the talent gap is a little too great.
Mm-hmm.
I think Destrehan's better in all the positions. Now, I agree with VK's point about familiarity. Boyne and knowing the Destrehan system. I get that. He's right, 100% right. And I get your point about the enthusiasm that they showed. I'm just not sure about the talent pool yet. I think Coach Boyne is going to take some tremendous steps. I do think they make the playoffs this year. And of course, depending on matchups, if they're a 13-20 or something like that, 15-18, 16-17, if they're in that window, 14-19, if they're in that window, opportunity presents itself to win a playoff game. What is the goal in Harville? Of course, get to the dome. Realistically, it ain't happening this year. I don't think I don't think they have a quantum leap kind of year. Because again, I think the talent gap is a little too great for them against Destrehan and even East St. John. East St. John's another one.
Terrebonne too. Terrebonne.
Terrebonne, and
Yes.
yeah, Terrebonne's are going to replace Connor Billion. So we'll see what they're going to bring. But Kylan Lewis is a good coach. He has built a quality program down there. So I mean, it's a competitive group. The Hahnville Destrehan game, the goal this year, of course, it's to beat Destrehan. But I think your hope about atmosphere. I'm an atmosphere guy. Get me to a football game, and where the crowd is just jacked up. See, like 2 years ago, we were on the sideline for Curtis and Brother Martin, and that Brother Martin crowd was absolutely nuts before that game, and that atmosphere was just VK electric to me. I felt chills. I was like, man, You could tell when a team's hungry to get to a place they hadn't been in a minute, and just the enthusiasm is just palpable and it's beautiful to watch. Harville Destrehan back in the day was awesome. I wanted to get back to that where each year is like you don't know who's going to win. It's
Right.
like maybe Hahnville, maybe Destrehan, but that's where I want this rivalry to get back to, and
Yeah.
that's what makes high school football fun in South Louisiana. I mean, there's others, but Hahnville Destrehan feels like a benchmark kind of game where the unpredictability every year needs to come back. It ain't this year, but Hahnville's going to make big time strides, JB, when it comes to that. I don't think they beat them, but I think they're a playoff team.
Yeah, I think they're a playoff team. I think they get back, man. And that's just the first step because Hornville not making the playoffs last year, man. That just was like, ooh. And then,
Unusual.
yeah, unusual. That never happens. And then getting to the playoffs and losing these first round games, that was unusual too. So
Yep.
now it's work your way back up. Work your way back up. And I always said this, and I'm going to keep saying it. This should be a perennial power every year. Hornville should get to the quarterfinals every year. It's no excuse that they shouldn't, especially with this split. Definitely no excuse.
I think more than anything else, but you have to look at it overall. I understand what you're talking about, Jared, but I have learned this in sports for a long time now,
Oh God.
and it's the God honest truth. Even the great teams are going to take a fall,
Yeah, it happens.
and it happens. All the great teams, your New York Yankees took a great fall. You look at the Miami Hurricanes took a great fall. Even high school, you look at the Huntsville Tigers. At all these years, they took a fall. You look at West Jefferson. Back in the day, in the 80s and 90s, the consistency was there. You have not seen it recently, and that's bad. We just know, even the Cali schools, even sometimes Curtis takes a little step back.
A little,
All
a
a
little
little
step back.
step back.
Yeah, very
It
baby
ain't no
step.
fall, bro.
No, it's
That's
a
a
baby step.
yeah.
Nah, but I'm saying I'm saying period. Like as in like sometimes you're gonna win, but sometimes you're not gonna get to the pinnacle, or you take a fall. Either way, the great programs, everybody goes through it. So it ain't just the programs that are small and small is gonna get beat up, but even the bigger programs will have a point that they're gonna get beat up, take a seat back. But it's
Hmm.
all about resilience and bouncing back. That's what Hanville's opportunity here, a time of resilience to get back on the horse. This is the
Do
opportunity.
do we agree that Coach Boyne was the absolute right hire for this program? I say yes, emphatically yes, because based on what you said, JB, with the spring game against Jesuit and then the 7-on-7s against a handful of teams that came down there, the Brother Martins, the Shaw, Everett, don't know who else was there. Was 5 teams
35,
or 6 teams?
35, 35.
35 was down there. The enthusiasm level is starting to come back. You know, going to a Hanville game where you're like, oh boy, what's the number tonight? Name the number. That's never supposed to happen. Never. And, VK mentioned Curtis taking a step back. You know what? Here's a crazy thought. The day John Curtis misses a playoff is when the earth goes flat. That's when they miss a playoff.
Well,
But I
I'm,
get
a,
what you're saying, though.
but I'm gonna tell you three instances, and you can tell that they kind of probably not a total fall, but it took a step back. Three instances in John Curtis history, I can say. One,
Hmm.
when Salmon took down John Curtis in the state championship. The
They
Salmon
wait,
women.
Hmm.
hold on. That's not a step back because they
No, no,
lost.
no, no, no.
They
No,
lost state
I'm
title
not
games
saying.
before.
Listen. No, no. This is one of the first times they lost a state title game in a
It was
long
one.
time.
Yeah,
I'm
long
talking about.
time, but it's not a
You have
state.
to
It's
you
not
have
a
to
step
think
back.
about it. Curtis just came off winning 3 straight state titles
I
and
get it.
getting back to the dome.
Okay, that's not a
And
step
and,
back.
and, and you
It's
look
not a
at
step
them
back.
years even before the time. You look at them years even before that time. The one team them last couple of years when it came down to a Gabe Curtis hell was Salmon. And
Okay,
Salmon that time finally got him in that dome and wound up winning that state championship in a close game.
Yeah,
and Salmon beat him in back-to-back years,
yeah,
beating them at at Joe Yenny,
yes.
which is a
Hmm.
game that Dwayne was mostly hurt and took over the full quarter.
This is
So
Salmon at his peak powerhouse.
right.
So is Curtis. That's not a step back. That's just
Well,
the two powerhouse teams.
you look at that instance, you look at Curtis losing to O'Perry Walker, and I'm
They beat
talking
him in
about
a championship.
no, I know they beat him in a
So that's
championship,
not a
but
step back either.
no, but it wasn't a listen. We talk about a little fall. We're not talking about
It's,
total.
it's not a fall.
Well, no. But you have to look at their loss. That was the unprecedented loss you ever see. How many
Their
times?
first district
Hold
loss.
on, hold on. It ain't the fact of first district loss in 30 years. First shutout against Curtis in 50 years. Look at everything that happened that night. It has never happened to John Curtis except that night. And the last instance,
And they
with
beat and the rematch. What happened in the rematch?
they did, but I'm talking about that particular night.
That's not a step back, VK.
That
Go ahead.
I'm
Go
just
ahead.
saying.
What's your third one? Go ahead.
The third one was when John Curtis losing to Jesuit in the state championship. Close ball game. John Curtis in the highest classification. And not just that, John Curtis, not just that, Jesuit giving John Curtis a taste of their own medicine that night to win the state championship.
Now,
And
that one I would say because it was hard for them once they move up to win a Chase championship. So that one I can say they took a step back. Jesuit beating them, running the ball down their throats.
now we on the same. Now you see what I'm talking about. But I'm
Yeah,
just
no,
saying,
that one.
all great. I'm just saying, all great teams might take a fall or just a
Yeah,
little step back.
that, that's
It's obvious,
that's facts.
but I
That is
think it's the
facts.
right hire for Hanville to have Coach Boyne to take over the program. I think it's very, very obvious in itself.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we thank y'all for watching the Hash It Out show. We are doing Legends Month. We had Ryan Perrilloux last night. We had Michael Ford tonight, and we had Skyler Green next Tuesday or Tuesday coming up. We have the one, the only Patrick Surtain joining us at 7:30. And right after him, we have Chris Cooper, who played at West Jeff and at LSU and then transferred to Southern, joining us right after Patrick Surtain. So we got a big show Tuesday night. Come Wednesday night, we'll let you know. Well, for next Wednesday, we'll let you know soon who we will have on the show. So, but it's a great show tonight. Thank you to Michael Ford. Thank you to Skylar Green. We truly appreciate it. Any last words before we go, fellas?
Well, we have a lot more coming up scheduled for you. We'll let you know and everything. But I tell you, man, this was a real good show tonight, and I really, really enjoyed it. I think Legends Month is gonna be great, setting us up for the football season coming up, man. We just love our viewers. Continue to interact, continue to join us, and continue to like, share, subscribe to the Hash It Out Show on all social media platforms.
Oh, my boy watching on Instagram. Wow, wow, wow. Ha ha. Skies Antoine, what's happening, baby? What's happening? Westgate High School offensive coordinator. Go ahead, George.
Well, I mean, again, piggybacking off what VK said, it was a great two shows these last two nights. We've had great people, and couldn't ask for a better group to work with is with you two. Also, want to remind everybody tomorrow, obviously, is the 4th of July. While I'll be making Do Re Mi a lot of it tomorrow, anybody, all of you guys out there that are watching, listening to us, whatever you do, please be safe and don't do nothing stupid. It's the 4th of July. Let's enjoy the holiday. And for those that are going to Essence Fest this weekend, I'll tell you how much I know about the Essence Fest. I'm usually up on it. I don't even know who the main acts are this year. It's just like it just popped up. It's like, damn, okay. But no, Essence Fest, and this is a big weekend in the city of New Orleans, for New Orleans. Get out there and enjoy yourselves, but don't do nothing reckless or crazy. I don't want to see you at JP or whatever. I mean, unless you're dropping food off in an Uber Eats or a DoorDash, that's different. But
Yep.
other than that, please be safe. And gentlemen, happy 4th of July to both of you. And whatever you may do tomorrow, plans, please be safe as well. And again, great show tonight.
Definitely, George. Everybody that watched, thank y'all so much. We'll catch you back here next week on the Hash It Out Show. Y'all take care.
Head boys basketball coach at Bonneville High, and you're watching the Hash It Out Show. Go Bruins!
I'm Lisa Hiller from Ponchatoula Lady Wave, and you're watching the Hash Out Show.
Thank you for watching the Hash It Out Show.